So we're back in the south of Austria, and this is where I keep my second child, my smoker. We're gonna get it out. I'm not sure in what condition it's actually gonna be in, if it's like gonna be super rusted out, super dirty, but let's pull it out and have a look. Okay, so I keep my smoker in the back corner, and as you can see, there's some stuff in the way, so I gotta pull all that out, and then I'll get the smoker out. And here's my baby, finally reunited after about 3 months. Now it's time to uncover it. It's looking alright so far. Oh yeah, I usually keep my butcher's paper wrapped up under there too. And also, I've repurposed this old esky, and I keep my pellets in there. I don't actually have this signature blend in there, but I buy a big packet of, it's called birch pellets. This bag that I had from Traeger, it's actually a really good place to store your pellets. So far it's looking alright. I had a bit of a problem with my baffle plate. I cleaned it too well the first few times, and it led to a little bit of rust, so we'll have to see how that's going. Okay, it's actually not looking too bad. There's just a little bit of build-up of some bubbles, but that'll come right off with the scraper. I'll go ahead and get the baffle plate out, and we'll get all this cleaned up, and then we'll get it stuck back together. I've actually got a new brush for cleaning the grates, but this is a super old one that has a little scraper bit on the side. As you can see, all the bristles are completely gone off of it. Just to scrape off the bit of the rust from the baffle plate is going to be the perfect tool. Now, I don't want to get too in-depth to clean this off, because I was talking to my father-in-law, and to actually stop the rust, he actually said that rust prevents the rust a little bit. So I don't want to scrape off all of it. I just want to get the bigger flakes that have formed on here. Okay, that's good enough for me. Now we'll get it back in the smoker. Okay, now with the Pit Boss, it's actually very easy to put together and take apart, which is kind of handy when you have to suck out all the ash and stuff, which there's none in there at the moment because I'm just setting it up now. Baffle plate in, then we have this little contraption which sets in, and this has a handle which then you can slide back and forth, and you can actually get direct grilling with this pellet grill, which is a nice little feature. And one of the main reasons when I first looking into smokers, Pit Boss was actually the only one I found that allowed this without having to remove a whole bunch of stuff. So it slips in, locks it in place, and we screw the handle back on. We put the grates back in. Now I'm not actually sure if there's a correct order to how you put the grates in, so I just kind of swap them around and just put them in there every now and again. I'm not sure if there's a proper way or not. And obviously my little vegetable mat that I usually make my pork belly burn ends on. We'll stick that in there because I'll give it a good burn in to make sure everything's, you know, sanitized, disinfected. Anyway, we'll stick that in there. Also the thermometer, the little probe, I'll stick that in there because as we burn it in, we'll definitely want to get that sanitized. Because I'm going to be burning this in, and I'm going to be here all week cooking stuff, I'm actually going to fill the hopper right up completely. If I was only doing 1 or 2 cooks, I wouldn't put as much in, but they're going to be here for a while, so might as well go ahead and fill it up now. All right, time to get the power hooked up. So with the Pit Boss, when you first start it up, it's actually quite easy, but it takes a little bit of time. So you just hit the on button, you click it over the smoke, and because I've just filled the hopper up and there's no pellets in the burn chabby yet, you just have to hold your prime button down. It's quite slow turning. This takes about 8 minutes by the time the pellets fall into the auger to the burn chabber. So I've got to hold my finger on this button for about 8 minutes, and then I'll hear them drop in the burn chabber, and it'll fire up. So we'll come back in about 8 minutes. So while I'm you know, getting this thing primed up, I should also mention that with the pellet grill, when you start it up, you should always have the top open. And that way, any of gases or anything like that won't build up inside and, you know, cause you any problems. So best thing to do is pop your top up before you get it started. I didn't actually hear the pellets dropping in that time, but as you can see, starting to smoke. I'm gonna run this thing on high, which you just gotta turn this dial all the way up to a high setting, which is, well, it says on there 260, but I'm pretty sure it gets a little bit hotter than that. So we'll plug the probe in, just to have an idea of how hot it's actually gonna get. And then, yeah, once I can see a flame, which I can start to see the flame coming through the little baffle plate now, we'll get that closed up, we'll let it run just a little bit, and then we'll let it get up to temperature and just make sure everything's nice and clean in there. We'll run it for about 20 minutes or so, which is perfect, because that's just enough time to get the beef rib prepared. I just noticed also on the top of my lid here that it's got a little bit of soot build up, so just got a little broom here, give it a sweep down before everything gets too hot, and that way none of that soot's going to drop in my food once we start cooking. Okay, let's go get those ribs ready. So as I said before, we're going to be cooking up some beef ribs. I got these 3 racks of beef ribs from Exo Beef. My opinion, best meat that I can get. I'm going to be making a kid-friendly one, so this is how I've got 2 rubs. and I've got more of a coffee spicier one for the adults. So we'll go ahead and get these out of the packages, see if we need to do any trimming to them. So I got them out of the package and just gave them a little wipe down with some paper towels. And I can see we got some thick silver sit on the top, so we'll get rid of that. The membrane on the back, I like to leave on my beef ribs because that kind of holds it all together. Go ahead and get the silver skin removed, and then we'll get the rub on there. Well, I'm not going to win any awards for, you know, hacking up my beef ribs here. I should really practice what I preach and sharpen this knife up. But anyway, they're going to be just fine. In these rubs that I made, I never put salt in my rub that I use to flavor the meat. I always put it directly onto the meat. That way, you're not going to over salt or undersalt your meat. So we're going to go ahead and put a good layer of salt on each rib. Always put some on the sides. Now I've got a good layer of salt on everything. We'll start off with the not spicy rub. You want to apply a good layer. Also with the rubs, never rub it after you put it on there. You want to push it. That way it doesn't smear all over the place. Once you got one down, it's simple enough. Add it to the next ribs. So I got the rub applied to the ribs. Now we're just going to let them sit here for about 10 or 15 minutes while we sort the smoker out. As you can see, I don't have any gloves on because I don't have any with me. But what I do have, which I think a lot of people forget, is, you know, hand soap and water. Works just as good. All right, another little handy feature with the Pit Boss is, you know, you can pull your shelf out from the bottom and snap it in place right here. That fits like a glove. Okay, now with my brand new grill cleaner here, just going to give the grates a quick rub. And then so I don't burn my hand, we'll get this glove and we'll just move this grate back as far as it can go. Now, simple enough. Just go ahead and load all the ribs onto the grill. So I might be using the built-in thermometers because I've got my meter thermometers here. So we're just going to go ahead and stick the thermometers in so we have a rough idea of, you know, what's happening on the inside of the meat. So we'll get ahead and get these all set up, and then we'll come back in about an hour's time to check on them. Okay, ribs have been on for about an hour now, and they feel quite good. No need to give them a spritz or anything right now. Keep on letting them ride just how they are. Also, you might have noticed I got a little bit of lunch going on the top here. Trying to add a little pulled mushroom number on top. So my ribs have been on for about, it's been about 3.5 hours now. They are getting a little bit on the dry side, so you can give them a little bit of a spray. I've got a mix here of balsamic vinegar and water. It's about a 50-50 mix. I'll give this a good spray and then we'll wrap them up. Okay, I should also mention that my grill's been running at 95 degrees this whole time. And as it stands now, with my little instant read thermometer here, the ribs are sitting right at, it's about 78, 79 degrees there. So I'm just gonna give them a good spray with this balsamic vinegar and water mix. I'll give the paper a good spray. Now we'll remove this thermometer just for the moment while I wrap it up, but I will be sticking it back in. Just want to make it nice and tight. Flip it over, I'll get my little thermometer and we'll stick it back in there. So I'll go ahead and get the other two wrapped, and then we'll come back. Got my little babies wrapped back up and back on the grill. Now we'll close it down. I'm just gonna turn my temperature of the grill up to 120. Now I have my meter thermometers in there. I don't have this linked with my phone because there's no Wi-Fi coverage right where this grill's sitting. But I have got it on the standalone setting. That's giving me a rough idea of where they're at temperature-wise. So I can't really see too much on the time with this thing, but I'm picking it's gonna take another 2 hours roughly to finish them up. So we'll come back when they're done. So I should also mention that I did also increase the temperature on the smoker to 150 degrees, and it didn't seem to make a damn bit of difference. So hopefully this will help bump up that temperature. They do smell absolutely amazing at this point, but we need to get them a little bit more tender. Get that back in. So, all right, we'll get the rest of them wrapped up just like that, and we'll get them all back in the grill. My meter thermometers started beeping at me, and I pulled the meat off as they all reached temperature. So I brought them all up to 95 degrees internally, and now comes the most important part, is to let them rest. It's finished resting, it's time to cut it open and see how things went. It's a bit like Christmas Day, opening up a present. Wow, that's hot. So I'm just gonna bust it open here. Woo, nice smoke ring. Nice and juicy. Let's see how it tastes. I think this is the first time I've actually had the rub come through the most. It's got quite a kick to it, but it's damn tasty. Another day, another reason to smoke something. So today, I'm gonna make some chicken and rice. And I thought, I'm gonna put some frozen vegetables in with the rice, and I thought, well, I might as well see if we can pick up a bit of smoke flavor on that as well. And I've always wanted to try and smoke some parmesan or something like that. So I have a chunk of Grana Padano. And if it doesn't melt, well, I'll get a bigger piece and smoke that. So, just need to start up the Pit Boss. And then we'll get the chicken on. I've spatchcocked the chicken. I'm just going to lay them straight on the grates. And I'm going to keep my grill at the lowest setting possible, which on this one, it usually runs around 70 to 75 degrees Celsius. And that's like the smoke setting. Also, I'm going to plop a couple of little Pitmaster snacks on here, which is just the backbones that I took out of the spatchcock. So they'll be ready before the chicken, and they're going to be a little tasty little snack. All I've seasoned this chicken with is just some salt. I'm going to put the vegetables on the top rack. I have absolutely no idea if this is going to do anything, but I just got a pack of frozen vegetables, dip them straight in the pan, and we'll see what happens. So my chicken's been on here for about 2 hours, and we're temping right at around 67, 68 degrees. So I've just turned the temperature up to 150. Now we're going to take the vegetables off. Ooh, it's a little bit warm. So the parmesan looked like it turned out pretty well. It's a little bit soft, but I think I'll be smoking a whole piece here pretty soon. My chicken's just about at the temperature I'm looking for. So I'm just going to move this one off to the side because this one's a little bit more ahead than this one. Now I'm going to turn my grill up to full, and I'm going to open up my little baffle plate here, and I'm going to get a little bit of color on this skin. So we'll just plonk it over. We're going to sit it right on top of the firebox there. Might as well get this one turned over while we're here. And then we're just going to keep a very good eye on this. I'm not going to leave it. I'm just going to move it around the fire and get the good color on the skin all over. Okay, so I got some good looking color on the skin. So this one's going to come off, and then I'm going to brown up the other one. Also, my little snack here. I think I've gnawed on all the meat off this thing. Don't ever use these for stock. Just smoke them. They are so delicious. So we've let the chicken rest here a little bit, but it's still quite hot. So I'm going to use 2 forks. I'm just going to shred all the meat off of the bones. Okay, I got all the chicken pulled off the bones and the skin. I just gave through a rough chop. Also, I've already made some butter rice, and I already put the vegetables in there that I smoked. So we'll go ahead and plop as much or as little chicken as you want, and then we'll just go ahead and get this mixed up. I like to have a little bit of chili with my chicken and rice. If you want to smoke something up quick, grab yourself a chicken, boil yourself some rice. It's bloody amazing. So I'm going to smoke up some cheese. Now I've got fresh mozzarella that's high moisture. I couldn't get any low moisture, and I'm not even sure if this is going to work, but fresh mozzarella balls, slide it right in on the top shelf, off to the side because my firebox is like here. So actually, I know this side of the grill on top is actually kind of a cooler place, and I've also got a whole chunk of Grana Padano there, and that's what I smoked up the other day. So I know that's going to work. So close the lid, and now we're going to turn the grill on, click it to the smoke. So I'm going to be using this cheese for some pizza. So I'm going to let it smoke for as long as I need to while I make the pizza dough, and then let it rise. Alrighty, we've been smoking the cheese here for a good, I think it's been about 2 hours now, and it's not looking the greatest. It melted a little bit, but you can see the dark color has changed, and it's quite liquid on this side, but this side's kind of solid. Anyway, we're going to get it out the smoker. We're going to take it upstairs, sop up some of this water, then we'll see how it goes. Maybe a fail, maybe good. After taking the cheese out of the containers, I've got a verdict. That's what the mozzarella looks like. Kind of melted, it's a little bit flat, but tastes pretty damn good. Nice smoky flavor through it. And also, you know, all the liquid that come off of it. Now it's like fat and cheese and I don't even know what, but that has an absolutely amazing smoke flavor to it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this yet, but definitely going to do something. The Grana Padano looks a little weird. Doesn't have much smoke flavor to it, but after doing a little bit of my research on YouTube, I think I'm going to let this cool down completely, and I'm going to stuff it into a Ziploc bag and throw it in the fridge for a day or so, and then we'll see how the smoke flavor develops. So, while the pizza's not going to get any awards for best pizza ever, it's going to be just perfect for what I'm doing tonight, which is having a holiday pizza and just having a good time drinking some wine. Ooh, it's still hot, but tastes pretty damn good and nice and smoky. Today's a sad day, but also a good day. Sad day because, well, it's our last day here. A good day because I'm making some pulled pork. A couple of weeks ago, we're in Styria, which is a state of Austria, and we're in the Vulcan region where I picked up some of this. Saltamaso. Should be a good pork rub. Anyway, I was looking through the ingredients. It's got some good things in there. So we're going to spread it all over these 2 pork butts. As you can see, I've already trimmed them, and I like to put a little cut, more or less, through the fat cap to get the rub nice and deep down in there. Also, always buy your pork with the skin on, because this I'm going to put on the smoker with the pork. I'm going to make it nice and crispy. Easy enough. We're going to give this a good layer of this this rub here. Make sure you get it nice and deep down into those little cracks there. Give it a nice little push in. We'll flip it over, and we'll get the underside. So now we've got those seasoned up. We're going to let them sit for, actually, as long as the pellet grill takes to get up to temperature, and then we'll get them on there. Grill's up to temperature. Time to get these pork butts in. So I'm going to be smoking it at 95 degrees, and then once we get up to around 65 to 70 degrees internally, I'm going to wrap them, and then I'll bump up the temperature a little bit. So I'm going to be smoking those pork butts for at least 8 to 9 hours. They'll probably take around, I'm picking 3 to 4 hours to get up to that internal temperature before I wrap them. Now it comes time to turn our attention to this, because this actually turns out absolutely amazing. I've done it every time now that I buy a pork butt. I get it with skin on. It wasn't too much on these pieces, but all I did was cut it off with a knife and then scraped a majority of the fat off of the back. The more the better, but I've noticed that don't get too bogged down with getting every little piece off, because we're gonna be putting this on the grill with the pork butt. We're also gonna be using this, which is just a vegetable mat. Let's get to the grill. As you can see, pork buns just went on. Yeah, I'm going to get that and get it on the top rack. We'll push it to one side, just so when I go in to spray the pork butts on a little bit later, that it's a little bit easier. So we're just going to lay these skins straight down on the mat. The reason why I'm using the mat is because the grates are quite far apart, and if I put them straight on the grate, they tend to sag through, and that's what you don't want. You just want to lay them out nice and flat, and then we'll get this alfoil here. We'll bung those straight on top. Now here's where you can get creative. I've used a brick in the past that I just wrapped in alfoil, but today I got this dish. Now you want to just get something heavy on it, and what that'll do is that'll stop the pork skins curling up, and it'll make them nice and flat. Pretty much we're going to leave them on there the whole time that the pork butts are on here. Then once we take the pork butt off, we'll crank it up and we'll get them all nice and crispy and puffed on the fire once we pull the pork butts off. That's also going to take about 10 hours. So, the joys of owning a pellet smoker. I've been swimming most of the morning, and I've maybe opened the lid on this once or twice. The only thing I've done is swap positions of these two, because I think one was cooking faster than the other, because we had a bit of the radiant heat come down from the dish, which I also swapped out because I had to use the other one to make the bread for tonight. So, just to make this a little bit easier, we'll go ahead and move this out the way, just for now. Okay, skin's coming along nicely. Not crispy at all, but it won't be until later on. The pork butts right now are rocking right around, not sure if that's coming up in the camera, but it's around 62 degrees. And while I could let these go a little bit longer in the smoke, I'm not. I'm going to wrap them right now. We'll bring them over to the table. So I've already got some foil. I've actually got double pieces, and I've overlapped two. So I've actually got 4 pieces of foil here, and simple enough. We're just going to wrap them up nice and tight. I want these to get nice and soft so they fall apart. And with the butcher paper, it's going to take a lot longer than what I have. So foil it is today. There we are. Nice and tight little package. And we're going to wrap the other one and get it back on the pit. Got both my butts wrapped up, and it's at this point I'm going to insert a thermometer. So I've just got my meter wireless thermometers going here, and I'm going to stick them right in there, and we're going to set them up so the alarm goes off at 95 degrees. Also, I'm going to put my skins back on, so in goes my mat. The skins there. Now at this point, I'm going to make sure that the fat side is up and the skin side is down. Put the alfoil back on top, put this dish back on top. Now we'll get this closed down. At this point, I'm going to turn the grill up to 120 degrees Celsius, and then let them cook until the alarm goes off. The rain started to come, but the pork butt's finished. Time to take it out. As you can probably tell on that little pan down shot there, I already took one out. That one was already finished. And now this one has reached my desired temperature of, it's a little bit less than 95, but it's temping around 92 degrees right now, but by the time I take it out, give it a little rest, it should be finished. Now comes time to finish off our pork crackle. So I want to get this off without burning my hands. As you can see, this is not crispy whatsoever. But now comes the time when we turn the barbecue up to full rip, and we get the flame onto this, and then watch it pop, because there's all the fat's already starting to render, and it's at a very good temperature to make it puff. So now I have direct access to the flame with the skin. I'm going to hold it over there, and I'm going to keep a very good eye on it, because once it starts to puff, it'll instantly puff, and then in the next 2 or 3 seconds, it'll burn. So you have to keep a very good eye on it. But once it starts, it goes. You'll actually hear it start to crackle and pop. I'm not sure if it's picking it up on the microphone, but you can hear it. Once it starts crackling and popping, you can actually see it start to puff. Now you just have to move it around the flame, trying to find a hot spot, and you can get it all nice and puffy, just like that bit there. And with the church bells ringing in the background, that's the kind of puff you were looking for. Let this rest along with the meat. And once the meat's finished resting, this will be nice and crackly. While my pork butt back here rests, unfortunately it's my last cook, but this is also another step in using a pellet grill. I have to burn it off at the end. So if we pan down here, this is the last of the pellets that I poured in at the start. I've turned the little dial right up to full whack, and now I'm just burning it off. So I'm gonna get it up to a super high temperature. So all this, I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but there's all little bits all over this baffle plate that have burnt on there. So I'm gonna burn this off with the rest of the pellets. So also, like at the start when we had to push the prime button to get all the pellets to the auger to the burn pot, we have to clean all these out because once I pack it away, I'm not actually sure when I'm going to be coming back, but if any moisture gets into those pellets, it's going to be a big job to try and take this apart to clean all those pellets out, because if there's any rain or moisture gets into the pellets, they actually expand, and then it's going to be an absolutely shitty job to try and clean that out. So I'm going to remove this grate here, and we're going to burn off all the rest of these pellets. So once you've got it out the foil, it's time to just shred it apart. Now, it's still very, very hot, and this is burning my fingers, so I'm going to get some forks and finish this off. After letting the rest meat and then shredding it up, that is absolutely amazing. So, I'm just finishing off building the sandwich with some little crispy bits that I made out of the fat that was left over. Also, I have this, some pure pork fat, which I'll be putting to good use in a future recipe. Obviously, this is a big sandwich and I can't finish it all by myself, so I'm going to cap it off, cut it up, and go share it with some family. Alrighty, once you got it all vacuumed out, just a simple case of putting it back together, but not fully. So, especially with this piece here, you want to have some airflow in here, so otherwise if you have it sitting directly on the baffle plate, it's going to rust up. But that makes it easy with these little notches that you're meant to slide into here. So I just kind of slip it in like that, and then there's airflow in here so it doesn't rust out. Also with this one, I actually put this one back in. You can just kind of have it sitting there, screw that back on so it doesn't go anywhere. And now we can load all the grates back in. You can get that closed up. My little shelf here, slip that out. That goes down there. I've just given the whole outside of the grill a quick wipe down. And now, time to put the cover on and put this little baby to bed. Even though it's raining quite heavily, let's see if I can get everything rearranged so nothing gets too wet. There's a very specific way I've got to jigsaw this grill in there to fit properly. Severs!